Hey guys, we're back on another episode of BPL TV. I'm Micah Gibbs and I'm here with Liam Mucklow. Today we're going to talk about one of the issues that we see a lot in the lab that I don't think anybody's really talking about, but is very problematic for getting the most out of your swing, and that's shoe choice. Is there anything in golf that has to do with shoe choice?
Yeah, I mean, there's been like a lot of stuff. We've studied footwear and its effect, matching it to ankle mobility, using both pressure and force plates, overall force production. I mean, there's definitely something there. And I was pretty surprised when I saw, multi-million-dollar athletes coming in, going through assessments for their livelihood, and they're wearing footwear that is absolutely nothing like what they're going to perform in. So,
what's the worst thing you've seen?
Oh, gosh. Well, actually, one of these videos that you're about to show us here, I wasn't there live for this one, but this one, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when he came in, I asked him if he had another pair of shoes, if he's going to change into anything, and he's like, oh, no, do I need to? I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I'll go over here and let me get in control at Command Central.
Yeah.
And what do we got going on?
Yeah, so this is the player right here we were just talking about. So when this is a professional baseball player, came in to do a full bat fitting, and he comes in wearing a pair of, I believe, Jordan Concords, Jordan 11 Concords, which fantastic shoe. Love me a good Jordan, but this one, when it comes to hitting well and getting the most out of your swing, is probably not the best choice. So when we look at the pressure mapping up in the top right, you're going to see a pretty big gap between the heel of the shoe and the toe of the shoe. So what's going to end up happening there is it's going to create a couple issues on the front side, but on the back side it's going to be very difficult, especially for a player with maybe limited ankle mobility, to evert the ankle properly and not sway or not almost kind of push up into the toe a little bit too early. When we go towards the front foot, so we can see on this right video, when he gets to that front foot, what you're really going to see is that ankle start to the foot roll over the ankle really badly, and it's going to really kind of flaw that vertical force production. So if you're interested in power by any means, which I think would be pretty much everybody, it's really important to make sure that the shoe you're wearing is going to allow you to bring that power and energy up through the ground the right way. So you can see right there how much that shoe makes the ankle roll over. And when he came back in a later time, we got him in a little bit better shoe and we're able to stabilize the vertical force a little bit better, and he's a little more cognizant of it going forward. But that shoe, like we said, very stylish, love it, but for hitting, maybe not the best. So we're going to look at another player here. We have a Division I college baseball player. He's wearing a Asics running shoe, and we're going to see a little bit of that same problem. The player actually does a really good job of trying to stabilize the front foot when he gets to full heel plant, but you can really see right above my head, you can see how that foot wants to roll over that narrow base of the shoe, and you can almost see the toe starting to overlap and want to roll over, but he actually does a really good job of stabilizing. He even mentioned that he really focuses on driving that front heel into the ground, and I think that's the reason, is you can see that toe start to open up, kind of turn counterclockwise, because he's focusing so much on the heel, and he's having to do that because of the shoe choice. So these are two examples of why it's super important to know what type of shoe we're wearing when we're going in, but also looking at vertical force, we can see how these can limit a player or maybe even help the player out a little bit. So with that one, you saw the vertical force was a little bit better, a little steeper cone there, was able to kind of drive that foot into the ground a little bit better. Whereas this player here, now we have a high school player that is going to be a Division I baseball player. All three of these guys are producing the same amount of force per their body weight, but what we start to see is how when he hits that front side, now wearing that turf shoe, he's wearing a Nike turf shoe, and we can see how when he lands, he's able to stabilize everything, and that knee locks out, and everything almost looks frozen in time on that front leg. And that's what happens when we wear a shoe that can really stabilize us the correct way, instead of a running shoe where we're going to have to really think about stabilizing, or a Jordan that's going to really roll that ankle over. And we see this in force by seeing that the the deceleration pattern of vertical force is much steeper. When we compare them, we can start to see how the stabilization might be a little bit off. So we see the player here on the right, he does a really good job because he's really focusing on driving that heel in and kind of stopping that instability of the ankle. And that's something that he's actively focusing on. Whereas the player on the left doesn't actively focus on it, but he's still able to get that steep vertical force because of the shoe choice. So kind of in conclusion, it's really, really, really important that we know what type of shoe we're wearing when we go to hit. And I know these days it's all about fashion. I was the same way. I love wearing basketball shoes because I thought I could jump, which I couldn't, but maybe I thought if I was wearing that I'd be a little better athlete. But we need to be really, really smart about our shoe choice when we do go in the cage.
Well, what I like about that little case study is it exhibits a lot of the same, I guess, compatibility of athlete footwear and performance that we see in golf. So, even though we had similar magnitude of force for all of those players, like Micah mentioned, the first player wearing the Jordan, and we saw a pretty decent ramp up there at heel plant, but as they started to rotate, we could see how unstable that force application was to the ground, and I mean that's going to make it more difficult for both timing and power.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When we take a look at the running shoe, I was super impressed by what that athlete was able to do through the muscular control of eversion.
Right.
But as ultimately a lower impulse. So while they got to the same magnitude, when we look at the slope of those curves, it took him more time to get there, and it took him more time to stabilize. And again, where timing and adjustability are key when you step in that batter's box. It's just not going to lead to optimum performance.
Right.
So wear your training shoes. Until next time, I'm Liam, that's Micah.